Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and quantum travel. What's it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be this boring? I realized at the beginning of the video may have put some of the people asleep, and I was looking for a way to keep people interested while still trying to make my point, and that's when I kind of got the idea to insert Cameron just to snap people back into it if they were starting to close their eyes and go off to dreamland. But that is kind of one of the big problems with quantum travel, is it's so boring. It's so dead. You're basically just watching the kilometers count down. I mean, there are other things that you can do. You can wander around the inside of your ship and look at all the features that have yet to be implemented, like the ability to store drinks, food, play a game of chess, things like that. These are all possibilities. I mean, currently playing a game of chess, if you have somebody else aboard your ship, is a possibility currently. But is that really how we're meant to travel between planets within a solar system? Is that how we travel through space? We just kind of sit there and just wander around our ships looking for things to do, or people or things to interact with? Is it really supposed to be this way? I mean, do you really picture, flying between planets to be so dull? I mean, it's almost like, currently I would assume it's somewhat like this, flying an airliner on a long haul trip, say across the Pacific or from North America to Europe. You're more or less, I don't want to downplay the skill and the training required to be a pilot. I certainly don't want to do anything insulting like that, but at some point in the future, I would assume that it's almost like set the autopilot and just more or less supervise, But I don't want to say that as like an insult. Like, all they do is go up in that cockpit, flip the switch, and supervise. I mean, why do they need to be paid so much? I'm not saying that. Clearly, when I'm on an airliner, I want them, hands-on and on, tip-top people. But I mean, is it really supposed to be so, slumber-inducing? And this kind of bleeds into the problem of quantum interdiction as well, because quantum interdiction has more or less fallen flat on its face. We know that the system doesn't work. And one of the reasons why we have the current quantum travel system that we have is to kind of facilitate that quantum interdiction system. We want to know what paths you're going on between stars, so you're not actually moving your ship while your ship is moving, which is to say you can't go left or right, up or down. You can't change course in mid-quantum, and CIG has done their best to kill the behavior of, basically quantum skipping, which was basically when players would engage their quantum drive and then kill their quantum drive, either to get closer to an objective or in some cases to alter the path that they were taking towards, a moon or a planet, to basically get off the beaten path. Now, to a certain degree, this is still available, especially if you're on a path like this. You can, say, travel towards Crusader, like Quantum Go, for like 30 seconds, and then click it off, and then watch your ship decelerate out of Quantum, and then continue on to another destination like Lorville, and take a path that no one could possibly interdict you on. And that is a behavior that we highlighted many times as a reason why, the quantum interdiction model didn't work. It relies on you taking fixed paths between locations. And many of us kind of looked at this and said, this is not what we dreamt of, what we wanted when we thought about space exploration. We wanted something fully different. We wanted something a little bit closer to Star Trek. Now, of course, there are, some inconsistencies in Star Trek if you've watched it over the years. Ships changing course in warp travel, ships saying, or people saying, oh, no left or right, faster than light, whatever that phrase was. But ships certainly can change course and intercept each other at warp speed, things like that in Star Trek. oddly enough, I think that is kind of the ideal. That or Elite Dangerous is kind of the ideal that Star Citizen should be aiming for, which is active participation in the ship's maneuvering and in the result of your travel, much like an Elite Dangerous model. I think that Star Citizen's model is closer to the EVE Online model of close to or faster than light travel. And I have to say that the EVE Online model was always EVE Online's flight model is not exactly the greatest. And I think there are many people that would agree with that, at least when I was playing it. And I think it's probably still fairly close to what it was. I just feel that Star Citizen's flight model is, any flight model where you can get up from the captain's chair and just go like, I'm going to just go explore my ship for a while. I'm going to go check on my gun racks. I'm going to go make sure there's, cargo loaded in my cargo bays. This is just really bad. It really, really is. And I think that Elite Dangerous has the preferred model. Imagine if to interdict a ship, you had to go and you had to match the ship's course and speed, and you had to kind of get in there and slot yourself in close enough that you could actually discharge a quantum interdiction charge or a quantum interdiction field next to them to force them out of quantum, and then both of you would fall out of quantum at the same place, and you would then proceed to do your thing. That to me is much more exciting, having to kind of match course and speed with that target, and they could see you coming, and maybe they could try to take evasive action. A bigger ship would have a tougher time, a smaller ship would have an easier time, that sort of thing, so you could get into a real chase. Or if you were, let's say you're not interdicting anybody, you're just traveling from point A to point B. Imagine being able to manipulate your cargo ship in such a way that you could actually bring yourself to not even need to get to a planet and then do kind of like a mini quantum to get to your location, but to get yourself very, very close to where you want to be. Maybe you want to be on the dark side of the planet. Maybe you want to be on the light side of the planet, something like that. I think that Frontier Developments, I believe that's what the company is called that develops Elite Dangerous, I believe that they really hit the nail on the head with faster than light to sub faster than light, but sort of quick travel. They really nailed it. And CIG has done a lot to kind of reduce quantum travel times on a lot of ships, and we've seen these come way down. At one point, I think we were like a trip from Crusader to Lorville was about 20-30 minutes. It was really up there, and it was really sleep inducing. It was pretty brutal, and they've brought those times down, but the medium of travel, the mode that it works in doesn't work. And I think that it's time to kind of scrap quantum travel as it stands and basically take the Elite Dangerous model of quantum travel and get away from our existing model, because it's just so super boring. It really, really is. Now, at one point, we had the overheat mechanic to contend with, and that was not great. Basically, certain ships would overheat multiple times in travel between one planet to another. So players started actively managing their ship. They were actually involved in quantum for a moment, and they would actually just go and dial up their coolers. And CIG got rid of that because they didn't want it. And eventually the overheat mechanic was dropped altogether because it didn't make any sense. All it did is it took an existing, boring, terrible thing and make it worse. It didn't make it better. And for a lot of players, it really kind of, it just kind of sealed the idea that at a fundamental level, at a basic level, our model for travel between planets is wrong. It doesn't work. The interdiction aspect of it doesn't work. The traveling between locations, while it does certainly give a certain sense of realism, it doesn't engage the players in the travel. And I'm not advocating that the distance should just be removed and we should be able to instantly, flicker from one location to another in the universe in the blink of an eye or in a solar system. But I think that it's time that we kind of looked at this and said, we need to put control of the ship into the hands of the players while they're traveling a quantum. Players should be able to actively throttle up and throttle down. If you're traveling at low throttle, maybe you're consuming less fuel, but it takes you a long time to get there. But also you're more maneuverable in quantum, whereas if you're traveling very quickly, you're consuming a lot more fuel and you're less maneuverable. Things like fighters that used to be interdictors before they were reclassified as interceptors after the introduction of the quantum interdiction mechanics, such as it was, they could get their role back. It would be easier for them to maneuver into proximity of a ship traveling at quantum and, detonate a quantum charge or set off a quantum device or disruptor to push that ship out of quantum. And because you're traveling on the same course and traveling at the same speed when you do this, you would actually both come out of quantum in the same place. And that could make for an interesting and exciting mechanic for quantum. It does kind of play off a little bit of the Elite Dangerous model, but it does change it as well and make it much more active. And I think that would kind of lend a little bit of value to fighters, which definitely need it given the current state of the universe and the way things are playing out. And to be perfectly honest, it would be a lot more exciting being chased through quantum than just sitting here and just watching these countdowns happen. Now, currently, I'm kind of saying this, I don't think that changing quantum would be, an unbearable hardship. It is obviously something that is not like utmost priority, must be done tomorrow or else I want a refund. But when you see people moving through quantum, let's say you have somebody in a group with you and they're traveling from, let's say, Crusader to, Microtech, and you're on Lorville or you're at, Everest Harbor or whatever, you can see them moving visually. Like if you have their marker, if you're lucky enough to have your group member's marker pop up for you, you can see them actually moving along. So it seems that they're still present in the universe. I don't think that Star Citizen is currently using a mechanic where, quantum is just kind of like its own little pocket dimension that you see while you're traveling. And the only times planets kind of come up visually or any of the background really comes up visually is when you're actually, when you pop back in at another location in the solar system. The sun slowly moving across your windscreen is a fair indicator of the fact that you're present in the solar system. So I think that given what I've seen of Star Citizen and how the ships behave at quantum, I believe that we're still all connected to that same solar system. We don't just kind of wink in and then wink out at a later time at a location that we determine or the game determines. So I feel that, this should not be overly difficult to implement. And I just think, honestly, I would like to see quantum explored more in that direction. And, let's say if you keep quantum the way it is for Squadron 42, fine. You could just say that in the interim years between when the events of Squadron 42 happen and when the players kind of go off on their own in the universe, that in those interim years some fabulous new technology was purchased or acquired or invented that allowed human ships and ships in general to maneuver at quantum. And we could have a lot of interesting gameplay around that. Obviously weapons maybe are kicked off while you're traveling at quantum, but for just for maneuvering your ship around and maybe allowing players to make some really amazing skill plays where they're actively managing their throttle, they're managing their course, and they're actually able to kind of spin around and come in out of the planet from the dark side or the light side, depending on, which side is facing the sun or whatnot, or which side their objective is on, and they can just kind of maneuver around the planet as they slowly kill their quantum drive down. I think that honestly, a system like that would much more benefit the players and would make the game, at least make quantum travel, much more interactive and much more interesting than the current model, which, if nothing else, is a fantastic time to get up and freshen your drink or use the bathroom or just doze off for a little while, because really nothing else is happening in the game.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.